Hi guys, welcome to Layo's Tribe. Today's video, as you've seen in the thumbnail, is just like a comparison between UK and Canada. So for anybody out there, any immigrant that is trying to decide which country would be better for me, then this video is definitely for you. Also, I have my very first guest ever to the channel, so welcome Farida. Okay,
Hey.
so really quickly, she'll just introduce herself and then we'll get to the topic of the day.
Okay, so I'm Farida. I am Layo's sister-in-law, and I live in the UK, Scotland, and I just came to visit.
Okay, thank you for that brief introduction. So just I have some points here in my jotter, so if you see me looking down, it's because I have my jotter here, and then we'll just pick those points and talk about how it works in Canada and then in the UK. So the very first thing I have on my list is healthcare. Okay, so I can definitely speak to Canada's healthcare system because I have been trying to, for example, I've been trying to get diagnosed for something in particular, and it is taking months. What happens is, because I don't have my own doctor, I would they'll tell me to run this particular test, and when the result comes out, it is negative. Don't forget that that particular test took me 3-4 months to run. They will tell you to go run another one again, and then it keeps going on and on like that, and eventually you can spend months or even close to a year just trying to be sure of what is wrong with me. However, when you eventually get to see a doctor and they identify what the problem is, you are sure of getting the best healthcare out there. So that's like my own pet peeve regarding the healthcare system in Canada. So can you speak to, is it the same thing in the UK, getting doctors?
Yeah, I think like the healthcare system in the UK as well is like overburdened. So typically when you apply for a visa, whatever kind of visa, you pay the IHS charge,
Okay.
and that grants you access to the NHS. But in the same vein, you have, depending on perhaps where you work, you may have access to like private medical care, which
nice.
can be faster. Yeah, but for the NHS, it's quite a long queue as it is. People waiting to see a doctor. So if you're not in a critical situation, you don't get to see like a doctor just like that, except you have private medical care.
Right. I think it's the same thing here, but we don't have anything like private medical care. At least none that I'm aware of. And even for those that really have emergency cases, there's still a very long waiting period. So you see people crying, screaming in emergency room, just trying to get access to doctors. So that can be like, it can be like a major thing, considering where we are coming from, when you can easily walk into any hospital, provided you have your money and you're able to pay. But the good thing about the system is that everyone is, we all have access to like the same kind of services. So there is no, we don't have like a gap between the rich and the poor. We are all using the same doctors, using the same facilities. So I think that's a good one.
I actually agree with that. Like, here it doesn't matter what you earn, what you do, you would have the same quality the next person would.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that it's it's saturated. There's so many people on the queue, and if you're not like actually dying and calling,
you might not.
Yes.
And some people have been waiting for 3, 4, 5 years now, trying to get their own personal doctors. Not even the procedure now, just trying to have your own doctor.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there's like a wait list, and then you keep waiting. But if you are pregnant, then they just you become priority. But if you are not pregnant or dealing with something really severe, you have to
wait.
With
the rest of the masses.
Yes, for years. So I think that covers like how the healthcare system is. Something else I have is the weather. So for Canada, or maybe I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, so let me speak for Nova Scotia. It could be a bit cold, but a lot of people outside of Nova Scotia would say that we still have one of the best weather. So yes, that it's warmer compared to a lot of other provinces in Canada. And when we have like the minus double digits, it doesn't last. Like we can have that for maybe 2-3 days and that's it. But we have some provinces here like Saskatchewan that back to back they're having -40, -45.
Oh my
I don't
God.
even know how people are able to cope.
That's crazy.
Because even when we have that like once or twice, it's almost unbearable. So how is the weather like?
Generally, we're not as cold as you guys, thank God. But in the UK, Scotland is still regarded as the cold place. It's regarded as up north is cold. But still, I don't think I have ever witnessed like minus double digits. I mean, this winter it has snowed only twice, and it lasts maybe 2 days, and that's it. The thing we struggle with is a lot of rain. There's lots of rain, so it's always wet.
How is the summer like? Is it like really hot during summer?
In England, it's really, really hot. But Scotland, not as much.
That's
like
good.
you still have like just cool summers. I would say maybe 21, 22, 24 months. But in London, I think the last time I was there, we got up to 28.
Wow.
So it can get pretty hot.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so another thing I probably struggled with when I just moved here is the fact that the way taxes are on goods, especially. So in Nova Scotia here, we pay like 15% on anything you buy. And it's so funny that you won't even know the final price of whatever you want to buy until you want to pay.
That is so annoying. That is so annoying. That's the like I'm just like, why? Put it all on the item, you know? Because you may have like a budget, and then you get there and you're like, whoa, what's up? So perhaps because I am just visiting, but we have everything, you know, right there. If it's $5.99, you're paying $5.99.
Right.
I guess the tax has already been incorporated, you know.
Although we actually get used to it, because you get to a point whenever you see any price, you just make like a mental calculation that this should be about. So we get used to it.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. I guess because I'm the newbie.
Yeah, probably. And okay, so another thing I want to talk about real quickly is the immigration. So with immigration, I know this is like a very broad topic. There are different pathways and everything. But what I just want to touch on real quickly is the pathway. So for most people in Canada, even for students and permanent residents, they are able to tell that, okay, in 3, 4, 5 years, I would be a citizen. There's a very clear pathway. People are able to plan. They are able to forecast, and most times it is you're probably right, because Canada has this very clear, if you're a student, you just need your postgraduate work permit for maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years, whatever the case is. And after that, or while on the work permit, you're able to apply for PR or AIP based on whatever province you are. So it is very clear. For people that are coming in as permanent residents, they know that if they stay in the country for 3 years and they qualify, they are able to apply for citizenship. So how does immigration work in Canada, in UK, sorry?
In the UK, it's also clear.
Oh,
There's
okay.
actually a clear path. It's
For
just
students too?
Well, okay, I'll say this. It's a clear path, but because of how erratic their immigration policies are, people find that they can't bank on them, and they need, you know, a fallback plan. So typically, ultimately in these countries, you're looking to get a passport.
Right.
So for UK, you get the 10-year pathway and you have the 5-year pathway.
Okay.
So for the 10-year pathway, you have to have lived in the country legally for 10 years.
That's a long
So
time.
it is a long time. So students, work, whatever, you know, it should all be 10 years.
Okay.
But for the 5-year pathway, if you come in as a tier 2 worker, so you're on a tier 2 skilled worker visa, after 5 years, you can apply for your ILR, which is PR for you guys.
Right.
And then 1 year after your PR, you get
What
a
does
passport.
ILR mean?
Indefinite leave to remain.
Oh, okay.
So you get, and after a year, you get a passport. So it's quite clear. It's just that people can't rely on these things because they've changed so many policies over time.
The years.
You know,
Okay.
and it's also difficult to get a company to sponsor you.
Right.
So you may even get a company to sponsor you, you start working and they withdraw their sponsorship. It's very possible. It happened to people before.
Okay.
So people prefer, you know, to come to Canada where it's
where
clear.
everything is very straight.
Yes.
Okay. So I know that you did your masters in the UK and then went back to Nigeria and then came back to the UK again.
Yes.
So just very quickly, relocating back to the UK for you, was that on sponsorship?
Yes, I was sponsored. So I got a job while I was in Nigeria, and the company sponsored my visa, and I was able to move. So that was typically, an easier path. But usually people will be students, and then while you're still immediately after you graduate, you will apply for a company to sponsor you.
Right. So, guys, if you are interested in how to apply and probably get some of these jobs from your own country, just leave the comments in the comment section. Maybe Farida can take us through how to apply for jobs from your home country to relocate to the UK. Thank you. Okay, so another thing is shopping in Canada. So I noticed that when you go to one of these big, some of these popular stores, you don't have as many varieties as you see in the UK. So it's like UK has like in terms of fashion, they have the trending things, just the really, really nice things. I noticed that with Canada, they are not very big on, I don't know.
Well, I think it's a matter of preference. So, funny enough, one of my favorite stores, one of my all-time favorite stores is in Canada.
Really?
And we don't have it in the UK, Aritzia.
Okay, that's
I really like Aritzia because they have really good quality stuff.
Okay.
So that's my preference.
Right.
And you may prefer some stores that are available in the UK and not available here. But I feel like the main street brands, they are everywhere and, really good.
Okay, okay. Okay, and that takes me to the next one, which is like the job opportunities now.
Yeah.
For students or even permanent residents, getting jobs in Canada, well, not just any kind of job, getting like your desired kind of job could actually be like a real hassle. It's not a walk in the park. You need to put in the work. So you see people constantly trying to upskill, trying to learn new things, trying to even trying to develop the skills they already have.
Yeah.
And it takes time. So averagely, I always tell people that if you are very consistent, give yourself at least 6 months to get the kind of job that you want. So would you say it's the same thing for the UK?
I agree. Totally, it's the same thing, if not even more difficult. So because as an immigrant, you are already, in competition with everybody in the UK and then everybody out. Because any job that you are applying to as an immigrant, you have to bear like at the back of your mind that everybody around the world is also applying. Because they are not at this moment saying, okay, this job is open to UK and Nigeria. It's worldwide. Everybody. That is why you can apply to it. So there is like an extra level of difficulty. People in the UK can just apply to these jobs, get it, but you have to find not just a job you like, a job that can sponsor you, and keep you in the country. So there is just that extra level of difficulty, makes it hard for people to get jobs they really like.
Okay. Thank you. And so let's talk about like diversity now. Even though in Canada we have people from different countries, people from Nigeria, India, whatever, like living and thriving here, but I still believe that
we win in diversity.
Yes, I still believe that there are more people from different
So I think this also stems from the previous topic we spoke about, like the weather.
Right.
People still want somewhere that kind of feels like home, even though it's not really. But okay, so specifically to Nigeria now, the UK is closer. People would like to be able to go home at will.
That's another
it's
very
closer,
important
the
point.
tickets will be cheaper. It's easier for you to have family visit you. So I feel like these things, people just look at it, weigh pros and cons. Which one is easier for me. And you now also have to think about the job, food, all of that, and you say, okay, where is easier for me to settle? Yeah. So sometimes when you are looking for a job or you need somewhere to settle, distance and weather becomes, it takes a back seat, and then you have to.
Okay. But do you know that even within Canada, like flying within Canada could be expensive?
Yeah, that's something else.
So when you now want to like travel back home, you really need to plan.
Yes.
It is not cheap. So I think that's another reason why people would just rather stay in the UK where they can do like a 6 hours flight.
And the UK is just, a small island. You have European countries around. It's cheaper.
You also
because
have
it's close.
different places to travel to for holidays.
Exactly. So that's another positive.
For most people in Canada, Mexico is always like the top on the list when they want to travel.
But really, it's not far.
It's not far. So it's always like, I'm going to Mexico or I'm going to the United States. We don't really have...
Canada is a big country.
Yes, it's not like you can't go to those places, but it is expensive.
It's expensive, it's far. So, yeah. So,
okay. The road network. Someone told me that you have smaller roads in the UK.
Yes. And consequently, we have smaller cars.
Oh.
Like, I was just walking the other day and the huge trucks. I'm like, I've never seen a truck this big in the UK. We actually have, smaller roads. I don't know why. I really don't know why that is. Maybe because the land mass is smaller.
Okay.
But yeah, we have smaller roads. And
but houses are they big enough? Are they as big as the houses we have here?
Yeah, I would say so, because so now when you go online to look for, say, a house you want to buy or whatever, they will tell you, do you want an old build or a new build?
Okay.
So I think the new builds take into consideration, size. People want bigger houses. People want more eco-friendly houses and all of that stuff. So yeah, you can't find big houses, but one thing I find very different is that the houses here are made from wood.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
Oh, you have bricks in the
yes,
UK.
Yes,
nice.
And specifically Aberdeen, you have grey stones.
Oh, nice.
So I've never seen houses made of wood.
Okay, but having lived in the UK for a while, and then now that you are here, where do you think, in terms of raising kids now, which environment do you think is better?
So I think that will come down to city by city. I don't think we can speak on the country totally. So that will come down to city by city. And where I live in the UK, it's quite similar to here.
Okay.
So personally, that's my vibe. I don't like a city. I don't like to live in the middle of the hustle and bustle. I would like somewhere I can go and chill and it's just calm. So it's quite similar, like this neighborhood I really like.
Yeah, and another thing I noticed here is that for those that are very particular about Muslim and Christian schools, we have quite a number of them in this neighborhood. So if you don't want your kids to attend government schools and you are able to afford those, you can definitely take advantage. But is it the same thing? Are there private schools for...
I really don't know because I'm not a parent. So it's not something
when you get to that point.
It's not something I've asked questions about.
Yeah, I think that's okay when we get to that point.
Yeah, but schools in the UK wear uniforms.
Oh, okay. I think there are some schools here that actually wear uniform, but it's not all the schools.
Okay.
But one other very important thing I noticed here is the amount people pay on housing. It's like I met someone recently that is paying more than 50% on her income.
That's just crazy.
But is it the same thing? Do you pay that much?
Depending on the city.
Oh, okay.
So if you stay in London, you are, depending on what you earn as well, you may be spending more than half of your income on rent. But people like to live in London.
Okay,
I don't know why.
but for Scotland now, averagely, what would you say is
Scotland
the cost of getting like
as expensive. So I would say 1 bedroom flat, let's say £700, £600.
I think that still makes sense.
Yes,
that makes sense.
In some places, you get a 2 bedroom for 800 even.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense because one bed in Halifax, Nova Scotia, could be as high as 1,800, 1,900.
That is just crazy.
So housing is really a big deal. It is expensive.
Yes. In London, it's crazy expensive, but where I live, not as much. And there are some places in England as well that is not as expensive.
Okay.
I've seen some people say they pay like £1,000 for a 3-bedroom flat.
Wow.
Which is not bad.
Wow. It's so funny that here now we see students sharing rooms. Not even apartments now, So if I get my own 1 room, the bill is too much for me. I'll just look for someone else to share it with just to be able to cut costs.
Yeah. But when you compare, I believe wages here are higher than the UK.
Right.
So in the UK, the wages...
I'm not sure. Do you think...
The average wage in the UK is about £26,000 a year.
Okay.
which would be
Okay. I think our minimum wage is somewhere between 30 something K. I'm not sure.
okay. Okay. Well, this is the average, not the minimum.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So averagely, the UK, when you compare to Canada and US, we earn really low.
Okay.
But
okay.
the standard of living is also lower.
Right. But what would you say about work-life balance? Like, everyone complains about, and I think this one is relative. I mean, a lot of people complain about loneliness abroad, depression, and things like that. I don't really understand.
Because you have family.
You know, well, I don't think it is just that. It's also because of the kind of person I am. Like, it is okay for me to stay indoor for 6 months. I don't have a problem with it.
Yes.
Like,
yes. So I think you have family, then your personality as well. So even though you're a homebody, when you want human contact, you have
I'm able to get it.
For many people, it's not so. Whenever they have any problem, anything happening, it's just there.
Right.
So that makes it even more difficult. You know that because, like I say, a problem shared is half solved. Just telling someone who actually cares about you. So that makes it really difficult. Yeah, people are really lonely.
Right.
People are lonely.
And to get what's it called now, for babies or kids, to get them, to put them in daycares here, so you need to be on the wait list for a long period of time.
Really?
Yes. So if you need your child to be in the daycare, you need to be on the wait list for months before, because we don't have like enough daycares. So do you have to be that proactive in the UK, or you can just decide, oh, I'm taking my child to the daycare next month?
Again, I'm not a parent, so I don't know. But I have a friend who just registered her baby girl in daycare, and I don't think it was that complex. So I think, of course, she needed to give them, prior notice, ample time to prepare and all of that. But I don't think it was like a long wait list.
Also, it is not cheap. Even though government is subsidizing it, it is not cheap.
It's not cheap at all. It's not cheap.
As a matter of fact, it's probably cheaper for one of the parents to stay at home and watch the child.
I have actually heard somebody, talk about a situation like that where both parents are working, but they found that what they were paying in daycare was more than the mother's wage.
Can you imagine?
So it made more sense for her to, take care of the child and let the dad just work. So yeah, it can be crazy like that.
Right.
Crazy like that until you're now able to take the child to school and
I mean, I think that's the price we have to pay as immigrants.
Well, if you could bring your entire family, it would make things easier.
Make things easier. But with Canada now, once you are like a permanent resident, it's easier to like bring your parents, especially. You can easily apply for visiting visa to have them come over and stay for a while. They can even stay for more than 6 months. You can extend their stay.
Oh, really?
Yes. So would you say it's the same thing for the UK?
For the UK, I don't really know, what are the conditions for inviting your parents on your PR.
Okay.
But regardless of who you are, you can apply for a visiting visa for your parents. And sometimes they give you, I know with Canada they give you a long time, but the UK is 6 months, and then you can get 2 years later, and yeah.
Okay. So, and also, how is the entire process like, from the point of, oh, okay, this company is ready to sponsor me, to the point of I'm in the UK? Did that take a long time?
For me, no, but it depends on your company.
Okay.
So luckily for me, the company that sponsored me, they were also like really involved, because some companies will sponsor you and just give you your certificate of sponsorship.
Oh,
you
okay.
go, do your whole.
But is it like a government thing?
No, it's not a government.
Okay.
The company itself has to register with the government to be able to sponsor, and then they provide a certificate of sponsorship for you, which you have to attach on your visa application to say this is what I've come. Yeah. So for me, from offer, so the company I work with typically hires like a year-ish before you need to resume.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yes. So if they are advertising for a job now, the job would be, let's say, September 2025. You would be applying in September 2024.
Right.
And within a few months, you have an offer.
Okay.
And then you have that long time to prepare. you apply for the visa, I think about 4 months before you resume.
Okay.
So you will just have time to prepare yourself, and they were able to, provide legal aid, someone to help with it,
to make it easier.
So it depends on where, to be honest.
Okay. So before we go, I have one final question for you. If you were, having lived in the UK and now that you are here, if all the conditions were the same and you were to pick between the two countries, where would you pick?
Nothing beats living with family. That's the truth. If all the conditions were the same, I had the job I had there, nothing beats being around family.
So you'd be in Canada?
I would be, yeah.
All right, guys. So I think that brings us to the end of today's topic. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Layo's Tribe. Thank you very much, Farida, for agreeing to come to the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And if you guys would like to see more of her before she travels back, just leave the comments in the comment section. Thank you, and see you in my next video. Bye.
Bye.